There are certain teams in the NBA whose success makes the league feel uneasy, not because of who is on the roster, but because of what they represent. The New York Knicks have always carried that weight. When they are strong, the league feels louder, heavier, more emotional. Their rise disrupts balance, disturbs narratives, and forces the sport to confront a version of basketball it often tries to leave behind. Toughness, physicality, identity rooted in pain rather than style. And for the first time in decades, the Knicks are returning to that version of themselves, the one everyone admired, feared, and quietly hoped would never come back. The Knicks have not always been a franchise of intimidation. There were long years when the Garden lost its aura, when the league stopped circling New York matchups on the calendar, when Madison Square Garden became a museum of past memories rather than a furnace of present pressure. But basketball in New York has a way of waking up suddenly, violently, and without apology. And when it does, it reshapes the emotional landscape of the NBA. To understand why the Knicks' resurgence carries meaning, you have to understand what the NBA has become. The modern NBA is designed for finesse, spread offense, three-point volume, fluidity, space, a system built to liberate skill, not punish weakness. But New York is moving in the opposite direction. They have returned to a style the league once tried to control, one built on force, relentlessness, and the psychological toll of effort. They don't win with beauty, they win with resistance. The shift began quietly. Coaching changes, roster moves, players who weren't drafted for star roles, but for their capacity to fight through fatigue and chaos. And then came Jalen Brunson, a guard with none of the physical markers of a superstar, but all of the emotional markers of a leader who understands exactly what New York demands. Brunson didn't bring flash, he brought calm, composure under pressure, a sense that in the final minutes of tight games, the Knicks finally had someone who refused to let moments unravel at their feet. Around him, the Knicks built something heavier. Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Isaiah Hartenstein, players who don't just compete, they exhaust. Players who understand that pressure is not a burden, but a tool. Every possession becomes a collision. Every rebound becomes a message. Every dive to the floor becomes a statement that the Knicks were not created for style points. They were created to test opponents' breaking points. And then there is Julius Randle, a player whose relationship with New York mirrors the city itself. Volatile, emotional, deeply imperfect, but undeniably powerful when the energy aligns. Randle's physicality forces teams to adjust, not by scheme, but by temperament. When he plays with force, when he asserts himself into the game, he drags New York into identity. He makes the Knicks uncomfortable to play against. And that, more than anything, is what the NBA fears. The Knicks are not a team you outshoot. They are a team you survive. A team that demands emotional endurance more than tactical execution. And this shift disrupts the league's evolution toward offense. Teams built for speed struggle when the Knicks slow the pace. Teams built for finesse crumble when the Knicks make the game feel like a fistfight wrapped in a box score. The Knicks are not returning basketball to the 1990s. They are reminding the league that emotional pressure still matters. The Garden plays its part. Madison Square Garden is not just a venue, it is a force. When the Knicks are good, the arena becomes a living organism, a pulse, a crowd that does not react to the game, but becomes part of it. Opponents feel it when they walk in, the expectations, the weight of history, the collective memory of a city that has waited too long to believe again. The Knicks don't just play in the Garden, they weaponize it. What the NBA fears about the Knicks is not their roster, it is their formula. They win games the league no longer teaches teams how to win. Offensive slumps don't break them. Injuries don't derail them. Ugly games don't bother them. They survive long enough to force you into mistakes. They break rhythm, destroy comfort, and smother flow. They remove the luxury of playing on your terms. Teams built on spacing and elegance suddenly find themselves in a street fight they never prepared for. There is a psychological toll of facing a team like New York. Coaches talk about toughness in press conferences, but toughness is not a slogan, it's a confrontation. Teams that rely on rhythm become frustrated. Stars accustomed to open lanes face bodies at every turn. Shooters feel legs drain faster than usual. The Knicks do not try to beat you with skill sets, they try to beat you with thresholds. How much can you endure? How uncomfortable are you willing to become? How deep into exhaustion can you go before you break? The league fears that if New York succeeds, it might inspire others, because success built on force threatens the modern blueprint of finesse. Success built on rebounding and defense threatens the assumption that shooting is the only path to victory. Success built on effort threatens systems built around talent. The Knicks represent the uncomfortable truth that basketball, even in 2024, is still a game won by making the opponent bend, not by stepping aside to make space for creativity. The Knicks' rise also forces a historical reckoning. The franchise has always been at its best when leaning into conflict. The 1970s Knicks played with collective intelligence and unselfish unity. The 1990s Knicks played with emotional defiance and physical presence. The modern Knicks under Tom Thibodeau blend both identities, structure and strain, discipline and force. And that blend is what the league worries about. Because unlike super teams that rise and fall with star movement, the Knicks formula doesn't require a generational talent. It requires belief and bodies willing to collide. The NBA has grown used to a certain narrative, the idea that title contention is built through efficiency, analytics, and superstar gravity. The Knicks challenge that idea. They remind the league that basketball is still a sport where physicality can dictate pace, where grit can overshadow finesse, where a timed well rebound can outweigh a well-designed play. They remind the league that emotional momentum, when harnessed correctly, is more dangerous than a sold-out roster. What makes the Knicks dangerous is not who they are now, but who they are becoming. A team no one wants to face in the playoffs. A team whose style grows harsher under pressure. A team whose weaknesses transform into weapons in close games. A team built to expose fragility in opponents that rely on rhythm instead of resilience. And that is the heart of the league's fear. Because if the Knicks continue to rise, if they sharpen this identity and lean into it fully, they become a problem no analytical model can easily predict. They become a reminder that basketball has always belonged to the team willing to suffer longest. They become the kind of team that doesn't just beat opponents, but wears them down. The Knicks are not yet champions, but they no longer play like a franchise searching for hope. They play like a franchise searching for confrontation, a franchise rediscovering the part of its soul that made it legendary. And if this transformation continues, the NBA will have to prepare for a future where New York, once again, becomes the team no one wants to face, but everyone must go through. This is the version of the Knicks the NBA hoped would stay buried. It didn't. It resurfaced. And it's getting stronger.